Hello, everyone. Hi, welcome. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy Tuesday. If you're in North America, Eastern Standard Time, it is the middle of your day. It is the evening for us here in Poland and in this hemisphere, Central Standard Time. I'm so happy to welcome you all. My name is Michael Rubenfeld. And I am the co-director of Festival, a Jewish arts and activist organization, who are the producers of the film you're going to watch today. And also, I'm the director of the film that you're about to watch today. This is one of three films that we've made in a series called KulturDocs. I'll talk a little bit more about why I made the films later, but um, I'm happy. What I can tell you is that we have three films about three generations of Jewish artists, Polish Jewish artists, and this film that you're about to watch is about Mikołaj Trzaska, who I'm very excited that you'll be introduced to if you don't already know him. And if you already do know him, you're probably here because you're as big a fan of his as I am. What else can I say? I'm going to introduce a couple other people who are with us today. But beforehand, I just wanted to let you know that the best way to watch the film is in full screen. So the way to do that is up on the left-hand side. There's a little green circle, and I would press that to watch the film. And you probably see, you might see people's videos up. And if you don't want to see those, there is the way to reduce that is once you're in full screen, you'll sort of see them up there, and there are four buttons that you can press. There's like a thing that sort of looks like the Brady Bunch, squares, and then there's two lines, one kind of fat line and one little line, and that little line will hide everyone, so you don't have to watch people's faces if they haven't turned off their cameras. The other thing I will tell you is that if you happen to have an amazing sound system at home and you want to listen to it on your with better sound, up on the top right-hand side, there is a little thing that says original sound for musicians, and it might be off or on. If you don't have a great speaker, then you want to keep it off. But if you do, and you want to be able to enjoy some of the music that you hear, you can click it and on, and that will give you better sound. I think that I've said everything that I need to say, and I will speak more later. The film is 20 minutes, and it will be followed by a conversation afterwards, and then questions and answers from you as well. And I'm going to now introduce our partner, one of our partners for the event, Eric Stein, who is the artistic director of the Ashkenaz Festival and Foundation in Toronto. Eric Stein.
Thanks, Michael. And well, I don't know if the word is to see everybody, but to be together here in this virtual space today. Um, for those of you who are not familiar with Ashkenaz, the Ashkenaz Festival is North America's largest festival of Jewish music and culture. It's been taking place in Toronto since 1995, usually every second year. We just had a 14th festival this past September, and we do programming year round as well. And over the last number of years, we've expanded the extent to which we engage in international partnerships and do co-presentations and collaborative projects with organizations all over the world. Part of the nature of being a curator in the Jewish arts space is recognizing that the sort of global aspect of that phenomenon, and that's something that mirrors the Jewish experience, really living in countries all over the world and influencing and being influenced by host cultures. And for me as a curator here at Ashkenaz for the last 18 years, that's been a particular area of interest, is just really delving into all those different ways that Jewish musicians and Jewish artists have channeled whatever their local environment is to reflect some sort of convergence between their own identity and their own experience and that of the locale that they're living in. And among those locales, Poland is probably among the most significant in terms of the work that we do at Ashkenaz, and in terms of the Jewish experience historically and musically and artistically and culturally. So we've had a number of partnerships with organizations in Poland. This is not the first time we've partnered with Festivalt. And of course, Michael being an expat Canadian, we've got a lot of connection there. We've presented his work at our festival before. And we did work together a few years ago in the early part of the pandemic. And this is sort of a continuation of that. We've also partnered with other organizations from Poland. And in fact, just a week ago, we were in New York presenting a concert with the Gare Mandolin Orchestra that was co-presented by Ashkenaz and the Polin Museum in Warsaw. So this is some nice symmetry to this month for us in terms of presenting programs that are reflective of our interest in having international partnerships, and particularly our interest in the connections and the depth of experience in the Polish Jewish experience. For me personally, that's always been of great fascination. And when I first got interested in Jewish music and culture, that was kind of the first place I went outside of North America to feel like I was getting at the well springs of this culture. And I have very, very vivid memories of attending the Jewish Culture Festival in Krakow in 1999. That was probably my first big immersion into that Polish Jewish cultural space. And over the last 25 years, I've had lots of opportunity to continue exploring that. So when Michael approached me with this series, and particularly with the film about Mikołaj's work, it was a no-brainer and just felt like a real automatic thing to partner up on. So I'm glad to be here today, and looking forward to sharing the film with all of you watching and talking about it afterwards. So back to you, Michael.
Thank you. The next person who I'm going to introduce is someone that I've met very recently. I happened to be at a Shabbat dinner at the Warsaw JCC. Gosh, it was probably just like a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, just a few weeks ago.
And I heard an American accent sitting across from me and felt a bit happy because sometimes my Polish isn't great. And so sometimes I was just sort of like, oh, American. And I met Melinda, and I said, Melinda, oh, what do you do? And she said, well, I work on social media. And Melinda, uh, whose work I've become very familiar with, is basically a mogul, a Jewish social media mogul. We had the best conversation. She also inspired the heck out of me. She's such a positive voice for Jews really around the world. And she has a huge social media following, and she posts a ton. And you're going to if you don't know who Melinda is, you're going to for sure be excited to check her out afterwards. And I invited Melinda to this event, which she very happily said yes, because in a way, we've made these films for people outside of Poland, and Melinda is such an ideal audience member. And after she watched the film, she said she would be happy to get involved. And so I'm excited to invite Melinda, who you'll hear a lot more from after the film, because she's going to moderate the conversation with myself and Mikołaj. But I'm happy to welcome Melinda. And just before Melinda, because Melinda's going to take us into the film, I just also want to acknowledge that the films and the event is supported by the Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and Asylum Arts in New York City are also a partner of ours on this event. So thank you to both of them. Take it away, Melinda. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. First of all, I want to say that I'm actually very new to Jewish film festivals. So it's an honor to be here, and not just to be a part of it, but to actually be like a host of it. It's so cool. But I'm not new to the Jewish experience. Born and raised Jewish, and my entire account on TikTok and Instagram, it's The Real Melinda Strauss, if you want to find me there, is all about being Jewish and being a proud Jew and being able to answer people's questions about Judaism. Specifically, I'm an Orthodox Jew, so I love to share about my own personal experiences with that and talking about the laws and the culture and the customs, but also showing people that Judaism doesn't look like just one thing. And I think that's something really special about this film too, is you get to see Judaism through the eyes of someone else. And as someone who went to Poland for the first time in my life just a few weeks ago, my life was forever changed. And I feel forever connected to Poland, especially since my family actually comes from Poland. And I was able to visit the graves of my great, great, great grandparents when I was there. So it was very special for me to connect. And this film really, it brought me back to Poland in a way that opened my eyes to new things that I didn't see when I was there for a week, because a week in Poland is never enough. I feel like a year in Poland is never enough. A month, like however long you're there, it's never enough. So I will definitely be going back. It's like the conversation we kept having every time was when I come back, when you come back. So I really hope you guys love this film. I had chills the entire way through, and I can't wait to do the Q&A afterwards and hear what questions you guys have as well. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Growing up in Canada, I had been raised to be fearful of Poland because of what happened to my family and the Jews here during the Holocaust. But when I started visiting, I discovered how much work was being done in Poland on the topic of contemporary Jewish identity. As an artist myself, I've always looked to other artists as reflectors of contemporary society, and so I decided to spend time with some of Poland's Jewish artists to see how they were using art in relationship to their own Jewishness, in the hopes of understanding more about Jews in Poland. Mikołaj Trzaska is one of Poland's most renowned musicians. He's considered an icon of Polish avant-garde jazz.
Jako mały chłopiec miałem pewne podejrzenia, że, tak myślałem sobie o tym, że moja rodzina ma jakąś inną historię niż rodziny dookoła. Jak większość zresztą Żydów z drugiego pokolenia w moim wieku, dowiedziałem się, że mam pochodzenie żydowskie mając lat 14, 15, 14 może. Moi rodzice się jakoś kłócili w domu. Ja usłyszałem przez ścianę, jak mój ojciec mówi do mojej mamy, może to nawet nie była kłótnia, tylko taki, wiesz, wprost jej powiedział, mówi do mojej mamy, wiesz co, wy Żydzi zawsze macie bardzo wysokie poczucie lęku. Zawsze wszystkiego się boicie. I mówi, ja rozumiem, dlaczego wy się wszystkiego boicie, ale wy Żydzi tacy jesteście. I wtedy mój ojciec mi powiedział, że być może teraz jest czas, kiedy ja ci mogę powiedzieć, że ty masz żydowską matkę. Jak ja się mam czuć, jak jestem młody chłopak i idę z tymi samymi chłopakami, które mi opowiadają ten dowcip po Żydach i teraz ja jestem tym właśnie. Co to za przyjemność? Co robisz w takim momencie? Zapominasz. Wychowałem się w takim domu ludzi, którzy jako dzieci przeszli wojnę. Mama przeszła wojnę ukrywając się, przynajmniej przez pierwszą połowę w Warszawie i to wcale nie w getcie, ale po aryjskiej stronie, o czym się dowiedziałem później. A mój ojciec z kolei spędził dzieciństwo w Warszawie po aryjskiej stronie jako polskie dziecko. Był świadkiem tłumienia powstania w getcie. Pamięta, że jego ojciec kazał mu chodzić na czworakach po mieszkaniu. Nie mógł wstać, ponieważ z okna było widać, jak ludzie skakali z dachu. If I live with such a history, what is full of shadows and really empty spaces, and my work is collecting puzzles, and you're still trying to find this, what you missed, what your mother never told you, what your grandmother never told you, what they really want to forget this, and you want to know again. You don't know what happened, and you are not sure that you really want to know. And then there is a question, if you have such a story. If you have not your story of your family, which is your heritage. They doesn't give you like palaces, they doesn't give you golden cars and gold, they just give you Holocaust. What you should do for having life, how to be alive. Mój ojciec miał gramofon i miał kilka płyt dosłownie. I myślę, że to był taki moment, kiedy ja zacząłem muzykę słyszeć jako zjawisko, które przychodzi do mojego serca, że jakoś reaguje, że moje ciało, że ta muzyka robi mi więcej niż ja mogę zobaczyć. Poszedłem mechanicznie trochę, ojciec tak chciał, na studia plastyczne, na malarstwo. Wiesz, dostałem się, to było strasznie trudne wtedy. I akurat tak się stało, że na tym pierwszym roku studiów pomyślałem sobie, że kurczę, to jednak nie jest dla mnie, że ja bym chciał grać. Ja byłem już gotowym malarzem, już byłem na studiach, już wiesz, już miałem pracownię po ojcu, mój ojciec był malarzem. Wszystko było gotowe. No. A tutaj musiałem powiedzieć nie, po prostu sorry, ja czuję, że bije we mnie inne serce.
Mikołaj, dla mnie on od początku był zawsze inny. On grał inaczej, on miał swój świat. On miał zawsze swój folklor, on miał swoją tradycję, która dla mnie jest właściwie esencją tego, kim my jesteśmy rzeczywiście w Europie Wschodniej, tak? Czyli po prostu wynikamy z pewnych też często traumatycznych historii, tak? I jesteśmy często pomieszani, wychowaliśmy się w innych kulturach niż z których jesteśmy często.
Yeah, from the very beginning, I really had a feeling that I would like to be a part of the family. That I really would like to be from somewhere. That I really would like to have sisters and brothers. That my heritage, it means something more. I remember first time somebody like bring me to the prayer place, give me towels and fill in, you know. I am spiritual, that's true, a lot of the things. But the feeling what I had this moment, like somebody will be plug me to big system. To był moment, kiedy urodziły się moje dzieci. Chciałem im powiedzieć, że jesteście skądś. No i zastanawiałem się, co mnie łączy. I tak naprawdę pomyślałem sobie, że najbardziej mnie łączy to, że ja biorę instrument swój.
Bo on po prostu gra tym swoim światem. Ta aura, powiedzmy, też jest koło nurtu pewnego ducha, który jest na całym świecie. Tak w Europie Wschodniej on tak wygląda. Tak my często znajdujemy pustkę po jakiejś kulturze.
When I was living in Canada, I was struggling a little bit because
My grandparents were Holocaust survivors. I think I probably moved to Poland because I wanted to unburden myself from up in the trauma.
You know, I'm Jewish.
Finding trauma, Jewish.
Yeah, trauma. How you can laugh when you're saying trauma? Say that. Trauma. Yeah, from the other side is the way how you can run from trauma. Just to change or how you show your back for a trauma. You know, I would like to be happy, for sure.
Who wouldn't? How are you doing with that? Are you happy?
I'm trying to be, but I'm not really.
You're not?
No, I'm trying to be. No, I think it's I don't want to say it's not okay. Probably I'm not being loyal to my mother.
So to be loyal, you have to be serious? You
Yes,
have to take it seriously
yes,
only?
yeah. If
I don't believe in that. I think that's bullshit. I think to be loyal, I think to be loyal actually means to continue to live, and to live with joy, and to refine joy.
for my mother, having the happy child, it was kind of trading, you know.
Like a trader? Like
Yeah,
strategy?
trader.
Strategy?
How you can love? How you can be happy?
That's
Could
interesting.
you imagine this?
Mikołaj, on też jest cały czas w tej tak zwanej impro scenie, tak, że ten jazz improwizowany, ale on zawsze był inny. To jest zewsząd, tak, to jest jego świat, który jakby jest zewsząd, a w rezultacie się rodzi muzyka.
Can you remember where you became more deliberate in how you brought Jewishness into your art practice?
And it was one moment, I remember, when I found a couple of Jewish notes. And I found this note and I really tried to follow. It's kind of spiritual, touching something what is not for describing. After that, I met some musicians like Rafał Rogiński, who showed me more about like historical Jewish musician, and he involved me in the books of that and then the parts as well, like musical parts. It's a part of like my chord, spiritual chord. And I don't know why, as I told you, this chord is not Catholic, it's not Christian, it's just Jewish. I know that. My love is Jewish love, you know. My suffering is Jewish suffering. Yeah. When I'm trying to escape from my trauma, it's not because the story of my loyalty, it's also the story that I feel, you know, homeless without that. You know, I'm more in home if I'm touching my shadows. You know, if I have contact with this. It's crazy, I know, but maybe it's not. Chciałem was zabrać do Słupska, bo tam zagłada miała miejsce. Niemcy zebrali wszystkich Żydów, zwieźli z okolic 500 osób żydowskich i zamknęli ich w sali gimnastycznej i tam trzymano ich przez kilka dni. Część nie przeżyła tego miejsca, resztę po prostu zawieziono do obozu. Jeszcze nie miałem takiej odwagi, żeby spotkać się z takim miejscem. No to była po prostu kaplica cmentarna tak naprawdę, jakby mówić po chrześcijańsku.
Od 41 roku.
Okej. No tak.
41?
Czyli rozumiem, że do 41 tu byli Żydzi. Mieszkali Żydzi, czuli się jeszcze dobrze, chociaż synagoga została zniszczona w czasie Kryształowej Nocy.
W czasie Nocy Kryształowej.
I który to był rok?
38. No tu w tym miejscu tak wstrząsające dla mnie jest to, że te połamane macewy ziemia oddaje, czasami wypływają fragmenty z ziemi.
I live with this luggage even when I really don't want to. I really try to leave this case in many places, in many train stations in my life. But it's also amazing opportunity to work with this, how to put the light to this shadow. I don't want to swim in this swamp. I don't want to swim in the blood. Of course I must do it. I'm doing this, but there is some shore.
Wyobraź sobie 10 lipca 82 lata temu. Naziści pukają do wszystkich żydowskich mieszkań, nie tylko w Słupsku, w Koszalinie i w okolicach. I każą przyjść Żydom tu do tej sali gimnastycznej. I ci Żydzi idą z walizkami, z futrami, z cennymi rzeczami, które mogli zabrać ze sobą i nie czekają w tej sali. W tej sali gromadzi się 500 osób, ponad 500 osób. Nie czekają, żeby pojechać do lepszego życia. Wywozi się ich do Auschwitz i do Theresienstadt.
Ja wewnętrznie gdzieś chciałem się z tym spotkać. Chciałem, żeby coś się we mnie, żeby jakiś proces się we mnie wydarzył, że ja mogę jakby popatrzeć na tą historię w taki sposób, spotkać się z nią. Ja nie chcę się przygotować, wiesz, ja nie przygotowałem żadnego utworu, żadnej kompozycji, po prostu chcę wejść i zacząć grać tak jak stoję.
almost good. But
Thank you.
That's fun.
Feel them because I feel them once again watching that movie. That film was unbelievable. And I'm excited actually to have a conversation now about the film with Michael and Mikołaj. So I'm assuming we're going to be able to bring them up so we can all talk, the three of us. I have so many questions, and I'm sure I want to encourage everybody who is watching from everywhere, by the way, because I know that there's a lot of different places that this film was streamed and we're watching right now. So in the comments, if you're on Zoom, you can ask any questions, you can raise your hand. And if you're watching from Facebook or anywhere else, you can ask questions as well, and they will be collected so that any of those questions we can hopefully answer here today. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody who was watching and who will be watching afterwards, because I know this is being recorded as well. Michael, before I begin with questions, is there anything you want to add?
If people want to ask questions, there's a little react button at the very bottom with a heart, and you can click on it and raise your hand. That's it.
Perfect. Okay. Well, we're actually going to start with Michael, because I do have a question for you that's going to lead into about 1,000 questions for Mikołaj. We're going to start from the beginning of this film, because I want to know, because you said you created 3 different films for the festival, and I want to know what brought you to this film specifically, being inspired by Mikołaj, that you chose to make this film together.
Well, when I first started coming to Poland, I realized that I didn't even know that there were still Jews in Poland, which was, silly, but I didn't know that. And as an artist, the first kind of place that I go to understand what the conversation is tends to be artists. To be, and through the artists of Poland, I really started to learn not only, but once I started to meet and understand the contemporary Jewish reality, it looked so different than my experience growing up in Winnipeg and Canada, being born into Judaism. And I was just so shocked at just how little I really understood Jewishness beyond like my own perspective of things. And I hadn't even considered myself as a Polish person, which I am, which so many of us are, but I realized that I had lost this Polishness in terms of my own personal identity. And then when I started speaking to Jewish artists, many of them, Mikołaj included, had lost their Jewishness. They kept their Polishness, but they'd lost their Jewishness. And the journeys that people were on was, in order to understand what Jewishness meant, I found so overwhelming and beautiful and complicated. And of course, it makes so much sense that I didn't also understand the legacies of communism. So I just learned so much. And also the questions that people are asking also then made me start to ask questions about my own Jewishness in ways that I hadn't before. And one of the people who is doing this, in my opinion, in some of the deepest ways in Poland is Mikołaj. So the whole series only made sense if Mikołaj, for me, was a part of it, because he's such a deep, he's a deep thinker, but he's such a deep feeler. And when I would always tell Mikołaj that I always feel like he's channeling the past, the present, and the future when he plays. And it's a very sort of special and haunting thing. And so, for me, it all had to start with Mikołaj in order for the series to make sense.
One of the things you had said to me is this is the Polish Jewish reality. And it's something, that I had no idea about either. Coming for my first time to Poland and talking to so many people who had this one same thing to say, which was, I didn't know that I was Jewish, or my mother or my father didn't know that they were Jewish. And that's a reality I didn't know existed all over Poland between the Holocaust and communism, because both are a huge factor in why this happened. And we discussed this the other day that actually communism was a huge part of why so many people did not know that they were Jewish, born Jewish, and had no clue until the teen years. And Mikołaj, I'd love to ask you, first of all, what age did you find out? Because I know you discuss it in the film a little bit about finding out that you're Jewish and your friends and the way that they were, making fun of Jews. And it's kind of this weird reality of, wait, I'm Jewish. What do I do with that? And I'd love to hear a little bit more about that from you, what that was like. And I know especially you're becoming a part of something completely new and different, and how that was for you.
Okay, so hello everybody. Melinda, I will give you a question, but before I would like to say big thanks to Michael. So let me say a couple of words about this, what happened, because today I had the possibilities to see this movie first time, but not one, 2 or 3 times too. For me, the most important things that it was a meeting, that this film was very kind, that I had feeling to be for a couple of hours in a family, and we met, and I think we met first time. We really had first time the possibilities to really talk together. It took each other, isn't it? Yeah. And that's why this movie is very important to me, because it's not pompatic situation. The film who is for psycho fans, but it's just it's about something very intimated. It's about very small atoms of life, I had this molecular feeling, but this intimated molecular feeling. So thank you, Michael. And this, what you are saying now, is moving so much, I'm nearly crying. And Melinda, this is, I had the same experience, I think very similar what Michael said. When I was born, I grew up with my Jewish friends. So I had a couple of them, but I didn't knew that. We didn't knew about each other, about ourselves. I was in a class with one Jewish boy. He's now he is a shaman in the Gdańsk Jewish community. I think there were a couple of reasons, not only one, not only war, but this what happened during communist time in the 68. But I don't know, probably I need a couple of hours or another movie about this, about just this one subject, how to. Could you repeat the question again?
Yeah, I wanted to know when you learned that you were Jewish from your father.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it's a kind of a quick moment in the film. This film could have been 2 hours, and I would have been watching every second of it.
Yeah.
What, a little bit more about that experience of finding out you're Jewish, and how after, I know at the beginning you said you kind of just let it alone, but then how did you become more connected to being
Yeah.
Jewish, to your
Yeah,
history.
yeah. It was, yeah. You can see this in the movie, but probably we should like say something more. Of course, when I started having this knowledge from my father, I was completely. My feeling was so bad, because the, the, we still in Poland was still like mm, the Jew is trash. It's the same word punk, the same word trash, a piece of something very ugly, stinky. Um, I think we have these pictures still from getting like vision from getting how to say this in English. I don't know how to say this Polish. We still had this picture from because Germans, because German occupation showing us like such a picture. So a lot of jokes about Jews during this time. It was they were created just for show how the Jews are dirty, how they only want to sell your mother and your father. How they are bad, how they are poor, but if you they could be okay, Magda, pomożesz mi?
Sure.
Pomóż mi, że straszyło się dzieci Żydem starym.
That children were basically being like frightened by like hearing scary stories about the Jews.
Że Żydzi kradną i oszukują.
They steal and they cheat.
I przede wszystkim są gotowi sprzedać własną matkę.
And they are ready to sell their own mother.
I roznoszą choroby.
And they spread disease.
And it was part from Goering propaganda, German propaganda. Dziękuję, Magda. So I will try continue my speech alone. Thank you so much. So I wasn't happy because in this moment, like this, my soul and my feeling about myself to move to this dirty part, and I had feeling, oh, so I have an inside, something very bad, kind of dirty, bad devil, because you know that in Poland still so there are people who are afraid to say word Żyd. For many people, it sounds like something not okay. So it took me a couple of years when I really started to missing for this, and I think that this moment when my kids appeared in this world. So it was the moment really when I had feeling, yeah, I start to feel that I have like very warm, good core inside me. And of course I had experience with Jewish literature. And of course I had the experience with Jewish music. And of course I started missing for something when I had the feeling I have this. I started missing from my heartbeats, what I never try to hear. And yeah, and I never get be religious. I don't feel good. That's funny thing. I never feel good among the really religious Jews. I don't feel at home. Sometimes I don't know who I am. I'm half of something or half of nothing or half of somebody. It depends on the situation. I change myself like a Zelig. This is probably this part of this story is about that. Yeah. So this is long. I mean, of course, probably I need like more time in my language, but in English. But anyway, it's a long story. I can think a lot about it, and I think I can talk a lot. But I think that's true. That moment when I start to play music, when I start to play the Jewish melodies, it was the moment when I start to dream the melodies for the first time in my life. So some people are dreaming melodies. They can hear melody in the dream. So first time, it was 2006, we had a rehearsal with Raphael, the guy who
who is on the movie, guitar player. And I remember we had the rehearsal. It took us a couple of hours. We played these beautiful pieces, Hasidic pieces, very old ones. He brings a couple of parts. And so during this next nights, probably a couple of nights, but it was for me miracle, you know. I start to hear the music in a dream. Yeah. Is that okay?
It's amazing because everybody connects. Like you said, you're very spiritual, and people connect to religion in very different ways. Not every, there's no,
No,
in
thank
my opinion, there's no right or wrong way to be a Jew.
you.
Whether you find out later in life or you connect through music or you connect through the customs, whatever it is, it's your way of being Jewish. And for you, it's connecting to music and dreaming about music. It's really beautiful. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about this project that you're doing in connecting to these spaces around Poland, these empty spaces that part of being in Poland is realizing that this was the most massive Jewish genocide and you are walking on this land and all over Poland. And I know I didn't realize it until I'm walking through, there's so many spaces like a gym that you don't even realize the history that happened there to our people and the trauma that becomes a part of us. Like no matter when you find out you're Jewish, that trauma is still a part of your life. So I'd love to hear more about this project you're doing and working to find these empty spaces and what that means to you.
Yeah, it's like watch your step. If you're walking in Poland, watch your step. Yeah, there are so many old buildings in the ruin. So many places, especially on the south of
Recording stop. Recording in progress.
Like synagogues and prayer houses. Some of them, some organizations try to fix them, but they still staying and nobody goes there. So you don't have the services, religion services. You don't have the buildings are having on the walls and some pictures sometimes inside. Even when somebody decided to build a roof, there is no life there. So and I'm looking for a room when I can find a reflex, sound reflex and soul reflex. So I cannot feel this from very beginning, but sometimes I'm taking a couple of 3 days or my friends with me, and we are traveling from town to the town and asking people for open synagogue house for me, and I'm going with my horn there and playing a couple of sounds there and checking if it's okay for me or not. So I listen to this house, and very often, even not reading so much, I'm just asking people for telling me story about this place. So I had amazing, beautiful, very deep recording in Szczebrzeszyn. There's a name of town in Poland. It was before the war. It was in a 70% Jews living there, and not only Jews but Protestants and Greco-Catholics. So it was like multicultural place. Cemeteries, very huge Jewish cemetery. It's the hugest town. So when I was there, I started to imagine how big was this culture, how old was this culture. So in a synagogue, I spent 3 days, and even I was afraid to spend the nights because I know it's not allowed every time, but I heard this, and I prepare the pieces. I bring with me the pieces what I would like to play there. and I recognize that I start to hear that there is different melody inside. So I couldn't play these melodies when I prepared them before, because I know it sounds like magic, but I have the feeling that this place asking me about different music. So I'm going there because I think there is a couple of reasons why I'm traveling to these places. The first is that these places are rich of a story and giving me amazing inspiration. And I'm lazy, and because these places are like they are like musical parts, like scenario, like movie scenario. It's just going there and like can read this. Just need the time for hearing this space. Need the time to stop. If I will stop in this place, then I know I will do it. So I continue. I starting this, and I continue, and I hope I will make another recording in the next couple of weeks. Yes. Sorry for my long talk.
I'm completely captured. Completely captured. So I'd love to know, yeah, from when you guys were in the gym together and you were playing music. Michael, you were playing basketball. And I wanted to ask, was this improv? Was this something where you asked him, hey, can you play a little basketball? In the way that I saw it was, this was a place where people used to play basketball, that this was the experience of before the empty space was there. So I wanted to ask actually both of you how that came to be in that moment.
That's a great question. I think it was actually Mikołaj's idea. I can't remember, but I think it was Mikołaj's idea because he liked the idea of the sound. Because Mikołaj he works from a place of sound, so he could hear that it would sound interesting. And I think that we also both like the idea of what it might conjure. Because Mikołaj, I remember Mikołaj was before I asked Mikołaj if we might go to Swoops, which is this town about an hour and a half from Gdansk where Mikołaj lives. When he had told me about this gym that was still working, that was still a part of a school where these Jews were brought, he had talked about how it was just wild that every day people are just still in this space playing basketball, doing what you do at school, without necessarily even knowing much or anything about the history. Now there is a plaque on the school, which is fantastic. There's a plaque it was money raised by the town, actually, all non-Jewish people who raised the money for a plaque that's on the gym. It's quite a beautiful plaque. So the memory people, there are really like great caretakers of memory. But I know that the image, both of me playing basketball, I think it was that Mikołaj wanted me to play basketball while he was playing, and then I wanted us to also play together. And for me, both parts felt really important, because for me, this film is really about, and also Mikołaj's practice is about trying to find hope. And I feel like hope is very hard to find. And I also feel like that's very much what Mikołaj's practice is. And in a way, it's my practice too. I don't really talk much about my practice, but I feel really connected to Mikołaj's practice because part of the reason I even live in Poland is in a way to try to understand how to unburden myself from trauma, and Mikołaj was doing that too. So it felt like this really important thing that play, we can kind of find our child, find our child together, revisit, reconnect to our innocence together as a journey that we're both kind of on autonomously and in those few days together in a way. How would you respond to that question, Mikołaj?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't remember, but I remember the feeling and idea what I had on the very beginning, and you helped me, like you pushed the situation further. Like I had the feeling that it was nice because I have a boy in the middle age from Canada who really know how to play the basketball, because in Poland it wasn't especially popular. Okay, this guy know how to play basketball. I know how to play a saxophone. Okay, so but you really helped me. I looked for this all kind of counterpoint, kind of. Because this plaque is about the history of this place is from a couple of years, and the person who is the woman who is on the picture from Soups. This is Jola Krawczykiewicz, and she's a leader of Forum Dialogu, and she really care about this place. So because of her, citizens of this town, they really know what was in this gymnastic hall, this sport hall. For me, I'm sure that before that, the kids who are playing and have like sport lessons every day, they even didn't knew what happened in this place. And for me, sometimes I know that sometimes we should put situations such a deep, even develop kind of shock to show picture when somebody in this room playing basketball, and that's super trivial story, and from the other side somebody play kind of pain on a saxophone, and it was very interesting how the things works together. And what was beautiful? What was the most interesting things during this? How do you call this artistic show? We have a couple of people, couple of persons. I think it was vice of president or president of the town,
The
mayor. Mayor, yeah, mayor.
President in Polish.
People had a closing eyes, and I know that from these people, this performance meant something.
And that there is cautious optimism. We are working at this very.
Okay, thank you.
So I just want to read one comment, and then we actually have a question that I wanted to get to as well. But Hannah in the comments said, when I visited Poland, I realized how Polish I am. I grew up with my Polish Jewish grandparents. The ways were subtle. And I love that because I actually totally feel that as well. And even watching this film, it made me feel more Polish for sure. So I wanted to share her message, especially for those who are watching the stories and want to see that. And then Eric, we have a question from you. I'm not sure how it works with coming up to ask your question, but oh, there you go. Perfect. Okay, go for it.
Not so much a question as just a comment about the basketball and the music, which I thought was actually kind of very poignant. For me, my experiences going to Poland were always very ambivalent and dissonant in a lot of ways, because you have so much collision of history and contemporary times, and one's personal reaction to being in a beautiful place and enjoying oneself, but also being conscious about the history as a Jew. And so what I really took away from that moment in the film was, and this is my reading, maybe it sort of touches a little bit what you guys are both talking about, but it really is metaphorically about that dissonance. It's about dissonance that is actually part of Mikołaj's artistic aesthetic as an abstract jazz performer, but also dissonance of just putting together these times and places that have so many layers of meaning within them, and not necessarily being able to make definitive sense of any of it, but accepting that dissonance is really what is essential about that experience and facing it. And that to me was always on a personal level, what always fascinates me about Poland, and something that I think a lot of people, a lot of North American Jews, I'm sure, can relate to the experience of encountering survivors or people that grew up in Poland and can't go back. They don't ever want to go back. They have nothing but the most terrible memory and association related to this. And of course, they come by that honestly, and they're so much entitled to that feeling. For me, as somebody that came to it later as a way of making sense of my own identity and my own family history, originally coming from Poland, I want to face that dissonance. I want to face the ambivalence and grapple with these questions and never have a definitive answer because there isn't one.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. I mean, if I can say something, yeah, Eric, that's amazing, beautiful. Thank you so much, because this ambivalency, this is a state of our minds here, living in such a country with such a history, having such a like memory from like this transgenerate generations, this trauma, how it works, how we how we still like wearing this on our arms, and what to do with this. This is question for us. So I think being a musician, an artist, this is the best, because like Carl Jung says, the every trauma which is expressed, it goes to the light. So this is, we are in a good situation, good position. So thank you so much, Eric. Great.
I'll read another comment. So from YouTube, Marek says, really nice movie, good idea, interesting take, and gives the high school feeling of watching movies. Do more of this. So I agree. We need more of these movies. I would watch a million of these, and I plan to. Another thing that I want to actually, first thing I want to say from what you guys were discussing with the basketball, the way that music feels differently to each person, I'm seeing how just that moment in the film, each of us has such a different experience from a moment of playing the music and the basketball being played at the same time, and then the joy of you guys playing together. Each of us watching is experiencing something different based on our own past and our own lives. So it's just like music, everybody hears it differently. And I think it's something really special about film in general, and music and artistry, is that it's something different for each person. So hopefully for everyone who's watching, maybe your experience was like mine or was like anyone else's, but it's your own experience to have. And so it's interesting because so speaking of the basketball and the joy that you guys had and you could see when you were playing, when you guys were, I guess, eating berries together in the field, one of the things you discussed was this guilt of feeling happy. And obviously it's not a therapy session here, so we don't have to go into that, but I'd love to hear a little more about how you are feeling, especially since a conversation like that, where there's this feeling of guilt when your mom sees this, wants you to be serious all the time. It's there. How do you feel that?
Okay, so this is also a long story, because you're right. This is story about therapy, like a long process. Almost all people what I know from my generation, the second generation survivors of the Holocaust, they are of kind of treatments, we just for having better lives, and of course there's a lot of jokes about this, but that's true. That I think for us the beginning in what I think is connecting us, the Jews from this generation, very special attitudes. Oh, okay, very special relation between our mothers and kids, and this what we calling Jewish mother. In sometimes I think in Israel they calling Polonia, like Polish mother. Is this a person who caring about you much more that we really need that, or so every, like, you should be loyal for keep your mother in the good shape, so be with her, it's your duty. So if you really want to build your independency, you are somebody who want to trade her. So it's amazing, but this what Michael says, that be a loyal, it means to be alive. This is the most important moment in the therapy, what you should really cross and overcome. And my mother is died a couple of years ago, but I think, you know, that I think when she died, I really, this very, it will be very, very intimate, is what I will say. So trust me. I think I really had the possibilities to really go ahead, you know, to really close this door with this darkness. If I did, if I in the reality I didn't close this door, but I can close this door and I can put this light from my words, what I recognize existed here. And yeah, you know, this, my friend psychoanalyst said me one time, is that, Mikołaj, you are still like swimming in the swamp of blood. But remember one thing, before war, Poland, it was paradise. For Jews, it was paradise. So every book of Hashem Shalom, it was about paradise. Every book of many beautiful Jewish writers and this music, it was music comes from paradise. And that's why I think we Jewish people, not only Jewish people, we're missing for this part of our story. And you know, this is I'm just saying this especially because I think that Polish also needs, because like wasting the Jewish society, the people in Poland, it was waste for all of country. So if you ever been on the Krakow Festival, on this big space, big marketplace, when you have thousands of people dancing, and the Jewish music is playing from the stage, and these people who are dancing, they are not Jewish. They're Polish people who are missing this, drinking sometimes beer, sometimes eating sausages, but there's some. This is when you have emptiness. This emptiness needs to be filled. So I think it works like that. So
it's such an important thing to say, that so much of the history that we talk about, especially in North America, is the Holocaust. And we talk about the Holocaust, and and it's important to continue talking about.
Yeah.
We forget to talk about life before, and how Jews were thriving in Poland in a way that isn't talked about as importantly as it should be. The amount of Jewish people that were living and living life to its like fullest before the Holocaust is not discussed enough. It's something that I feel I want to keep talking about more, especially because my family was there and thrived in Poland. They were in Warsaw and they thrived there. They sold spices, and my great grandparents, they had 12 children and all these beautiful things. And they actually moved in 1905. They went to back, I guess it was Ottoman Palestine back then, but they did leave because it was a time of questioning whether you stay or you go, and they chose to leave Poland. But there was just so much beauty there that isn't talked about, especially like you said, in those empty spaces, because those empty spaces weren't just where the Holocaust happened and where Jews were, kept, but there was Jewish life there. And in so many spaces, when I walked around on my trip, the amount of spaces where there are plaques, you discussed the plaque, so many plaques all over Poland for Jewish life.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I mean, I'm in Poland. This is like talking, especially like among the Jews. The Holocaust this is our leitmotif. But I think this what we should start to do
is the thing how to talk, not like how to talk about Holocaust, how to, what we can do, what could be provide us for going to life, to the light. I met some young people like working in this organization who are caring about the cemeteries and the, working in the foundations, and I had the feeling that third generation is more optimistic with this. They really know that we can talk about Holocaust, and it could be opportunity to meet together. Like we are in the cemetery, so instead of only crying, but we should cry, we can put many people together and do something on the cemetery. We can invite not only Jews for this project. So we can use this form for find relations between. And I have the same feeling about music. So okay, if I'm doing this, if I'm a musician, okay, that's fine. I can play better or worse, or worse, but I'm doing this for something. It should be a reason why we are making things. This is so. Yeah, I think that for a last time it's changed. I think that that screaming is not enough. Yeah, yeah. I mean, my big inspiration for talking about Holocaust and about trauma is, you know who? Is James Baldwin. Yes, it's
Tell
James
us more about
Baldwin. Excuse me, sorry.
that. To tell us more about that.
Yeah, because I mean, I never met such an intellectual guy who can connect the brain with the sensitivity. And of course, for him, the example is 400 history about the slavery, and how trauma is this transgeneration trauma is. Uh, is blocked is like how to say, I mean, uh, cannot let you move, cannot let you think, cannot let you find your independence in the thinking. How how trauma keep you in the one point, and sometimes not so much you need for change your position from the corner to the middle of the room. Of course, and how to start to think about history and a little bit different. So it's another long story. I mean, I'm not ready to talk about this right now, but I just want to say that he's super helpful for me. Yeah.
That's amazing. You know, one of the things that I actually wrote down while I was watching the film, but to be Jewish is to be a part of something more, which you do discuss in the film. And I was kind of listing in my, not just listing in my head, but actually writing it down was, what does it mean to be a part of something more? It's, you know, being a part of a family. It's being part of something bigger than ourselves,
Yes.
history, but it's also the trauma,
Yeah.
which we can't avoid. It's there. The good things are there, and that is such a huge part of being Jewish, but it's the trauma as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So you can guess, you know. So there's also many like Jewish jokes about this. How yeah. Yeah, that's true. You should be ready for that if you really want to have such a sister and brothers. You should be ready that you meet also another trauma sister, trauma brothers. But you know, if you have such a good attitude for that, it's much easier working trauma together than alone. This I know.
I'm going to read a couple comments. The first one is I'm going to say the name wrong, so please, Katarzyna.
Katarzyna, Katarzyna.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. She said, my late mother was a Holocaust survivor. Hold on. My late mother, Holocaust survivor, was Mikołaj's father, faculty of Academy of Fine Arts in, I don't know how to say the,
Uh-huh.
does anybody, how do you say the name?
Yeah.
In Gdańsk.
In Gdańsk, what is her second name? Is there?
Hildreth?
Katarzyna, yeah,
Hildreth.
Hildreth.
She said, we
You said?
share exactly the same experience learning about our roots, accidentally in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
She learned at 18 or 19. She said, I'm an
Uh-huh.
avid Mikołaj, avid fan since the very beginning of his career. I was even saying your name wrong as I'm reading
Whoa.
it. Must have seen his concert, different projects innumerable times.
Oh,
So you got a
Kasia.
big fan here.
Okej, Kasia, jeżeli nas oglądasz, if you see us, to ja cię pozdrawiam serdecznie. Greetings.
And then the next one is from YouTube. Thousands of years of Polish-Jewish relations and history of Polish Jews was reduced to Holocaust and pogroms. It's wrong, and it has to change. Polish Jews had hopes, dreams, and achievements. Generations of Jews, including but not limited to Jews of Second Polish Republic. Why do people outside of Poland believe they were not important? It's a great question. There is walking through the Poland Museum, and literally when you go downstairs, and there is so much Polish history
Yeah.
that existed before. I mean, it's most of what's in that exhibit is what life was like before.
Yeah.
And it a lot of times gets reduced down to the pogroms and the Holocaust. And that's why films like this are so important, and hearing your stories are so important to realize that, well, it's a hugely important part of who we are and who we were. There is so much more to our history than that.
When you're traveling to Poland, I don't mean big cities, but small cities like Szczebrzeszyn, Słupsk. Okay, Kraków is one of these small cities. What you can go, then you can recognize that Poland will be not existing without Jews. If, as I said, there is so many towns, Jewish towns, like Polish towns, but Jewish towns on Podlasie, on south east of Poland. You have so many people, known people born there. The Warner Brothers was burned. I think whole Hollywood comes from this place. I think then you can really see how, as I told you, big are these cemeteries, these kirkus, how strong culture built our country. So yeah. So then you know why in my country it's such a cold and such a windy. And I think it was different. I think it was different. So, I had an amazing story. Just last summer, if I can say this, but I don't want to also talk so long. Okay, it was some group from people from small town, even village. They decide to cleaning the old Jewish cemetery. And on the end, when they clean it, they cut some woods. They open this beautiful space, and there was so many, of course, smashed masevas, and they invite some Jews, like some relatives, some great grandchildrens. They come visiting the parents or grandparents lying on the cemetery. And I met one guy on the cemetery. It was Jewish guy, religious Jewish guy. He had one shirt and kippah, and I had a kippah, but and
we met just in the middle of this huge empty space, like a like a football yard, and I say, hey, my name is, and then he said his name. I think Eric Tiomkin. Eric Tiomkin. Eric Tiomkin was a very famous Hollywood music composer. And I said, hey, I'm Mikołaj Trzaska. And you know, I'm a music composer, film music composer, like guy who had the same name as you. And he was my great father. And in the same moment, do you have your mobile phone? So read my phone. When you will be in Israel, in Jerusalem, please call to me. And we even didn't talk like more than 1 minute. And you giving me your telephone number. Okay, I mean, could you imagine 2 Jewish guys meeting out of nowhere? And after a couple of seconds, we started talking about one thing, what is be. And it should be something in it. And I said, oh, because you believe in God. And no, it's not a God. It's just a quantum physical, like physica kwantowa? Quantum physics.
Quantum physics, yeah.
Quantum physics. It was nice. Okay, sorry for such a long. Okay.
Jewish geography is the best, isn't it? It's amazing how when 2 Jewish people meet anywhere in the world, I've met people on airplanes and suddenly you're connected and you're handing phone numbers to people who are strangers, but they're not.
Yeah.
There's 16 million of us, not even in the world. And so we're a family, and it's no matter where you are, you're going to meet somebody and connect to them.
That's yeah. So yeah, that's why I think it's good to do. It's good to work. It's good to do something around this.
Michael, do you have anything else that you want to add, that you want to share to the conversation?
No, I'm just really, grateful to the artists who agreed to be a part of this, and that I, had the opportunity to do this. And I mean, I guess I would say if you've not been to Poland, that I would encourage you to come. And if you do come to Poland, and your plan is to spend time at camps, if you're Jewish or not Jewish, which is what a lot of people do, I think it's also really important that you seek out things like the Polin Museum, and there's JCCs in Warsaw and in Krakow, and there are living Jewish communities and active life, and those things are really, I find, really, really important. And finding Jews who are living and doing this kind of really important work. And it's, what's really my reason for moving to Poland was partly because of how many non-Jewish people were working on Jewish memory, and how many people speak about Jewish memory as if it's not divorced from Polish memory. And I found that really beautiful, because I was always raised believing there was this eternal separation between the two cultures, but that in fact is not true.
I just want to add to that, actually, that one of the things I kept experiencing was that concept that with the amount of Jews that lived in Poland before the war, in these, especially in communities like Warsaw and Krakow, for that many people to, like a snap of your finger, disappear, not just move to another country, but literally disappear from this earth, you're going to feel it. I live in a very Jewish community in New York. And if all the Jews suddenly disappeared, the people in this neighborhood would feel it. And that's what happened in Poland. Was Magda says 10% in Poland, 30% in Warsaw. That's a lot of people who were in your classes, who were working with you, who were selling spices in the neighborhood, that suddenly just disappeared. You feel that.
Yeah. And this work that Mikołaj is doing, you know, I really do think someone was asking Mikołaj earlier about if there's going to be a way for people to get recordings of some of your work. I think that you might have already released one recording recently of one of your projects in a synagogue. Did you release a recording recently?
Yes, this is yeah, two of them. So I'm working for next in Szczebrzeszyn, in Słupsk, and then I'm going ahead.
And how can people find those recordings if they want to listen to them?
Oh, the last one. I mean, I think that now, just after the second, when I released this in Instant Classic, people really recognize this idea and people love it. I mean, I have very nice reviews out of this. And that's what I like, that they are not really in touch for the reason why I'm doing this. They like music, but on the end is still the story on the end and on the beginning.
And where can people hear the albums?
How they buying? They buying CDs. They buying vinyls.
But how? Give me a link.
I will send you.
Then Michael, you can share it with everybody.
If people hear,
no, you can
go. Kilogram dot.
No, not like it's Instant Classic. It's not Kilogram. No, I cannot do it. I cannot do. I'm not not multi, but multitasker.
You can't multitask.
Yeah.
So Michael, you'll be able to share with everybody who signed up and everybody who's watching the links.
Yeah. Because I also want to. Yeah, exactly.
I can do it. Yeah. I think it's on a YouTube now because now you can listen to this music from because the first is from Szczebrzeszyn and this one is any time. Okay.
Oh, great. The links are on YouTube. That's great.
Yeah.
One of the things that's so special about your music is exactly what we were talking about before, is that everything comes so much from your heart and from your Jewishness, actually, and the things that are happening around you. Like it's not just something that you're just sitting and writing down and playing, but it's something that you're feeling. Something for people who are listening to remember that.
Okay, wait, I think I found it. How I can?
I already put it in the chat, Mikołaj. It's already there.
The chat? Where is it?
It's already in the. Już jest w czacie.
Jak to? How it works?
Ja już rzuciłam. Nic się nie martw.
Okay, fine. Good. I will have to make this once. I did this again. No, it's okay. So you can list all. So everything was what is there was recorded in a synagogue. I spent a couple of, if I may say, so I every day I spent this 3 day, and first day I recorded first layer, second day second layer, and third layer. So it was still 3 layers of instruments. Yeah. Easy.
Melinda, thank you so much.
Yeah, Melinda.
For being here with us and hosting this talk. Mikołaj.
Yes, guys.
Thank you, of course.
Thank you.
Ashkenaz.
So, and Eric and Magda, super, and Corny. I mean, and for everybody who spent this beautiful time with us. Thanks so much. You guys are beautiful. Wow.
Thank you.
Oh, we get also. Yeah, very.
And again, if you want to follow Melinda's work, how do you follow you, Melinda?
Anybody who wants to follow me, I am on TikTok and Instagram at The Real Melinda Strauss is my name. It's actually my name everywhere, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere that you can find me. That's what it is, at The Real Melinda Strauss.
Super.
And yeah, just sharing a lot of Jewish education. And my whole Poland trip is, I still have videos that I haven't shared yet because some of them I'm still feeling them in here, but they haven't been able to put them into words yet. So they're constantly being shared, but there's a lot of videos from my week in Poland because I'm an oversharer by nature, as you can see.
Yeah, I think, Melinda, if you will find the time next time, go to Poland. If you will go, I think, Michael and Magda, I think it will be nice to show to Melinda not big cities, just these small places on the
on like, yeah, there are a couple of beautiful villages, and with the synagogues and cemeteries, when you can feel the spirit of, yeah.
It's amazing how the cemeteries in
Yeah.
Poland, you feel something that you don't feel anywhere else in Poland. It's
Yeah.
it's weird to say, a very special place to visit, because I'm not usually like a cemetery kind of girl.
Hello.
But when you're there in Poland, I went to a few cemeteries while I was there, and each of them, you feel it. You feel the history, and you feel
Yeah, yeah.
around you. It's very special.
Great. Thanks, everyone. And if there will be recordings of this event, if you want to share it with people, you can find them on the Ashkenaz Facebook page, on the festival's Facebook page, the festival YouTube page, and my own YouTube page as well, Michael Rubenfeld. I'm not the real Melinda Strauss, but I am the real Michael Rubenfeld.
Yeah.
Right, you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Bye bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.